Right then, let's get into your beloved Chelsea, Kweku, because this weekend they take on Aston Villa. An impressive Aston Villa in midweek against Liverpool, you have to say. But ultimately, they missed the chance, didn't they, to close the gap on those Champions League spots. This is a big game for both sides. I know everybody's talking about Enzo Maresca, what he's saying, and people, I think, are a little bit distracted by the fact that Villa are in the Champions League and doing well in that competition, have a decent draw now against Club Brugge. But for both sides, this is a big game.
Huge game. A game in which I think both sides... I don't know if Chelsea away from home at Aston Villa, who are a good Premier League side, I don't know if Chelsea would view it as a must-win, but it's a must-not lose. I think a loss will pile on the pressure on Chelsea and Enzo Maresca, and I think that hopes of qualifying for the Champions League through our league position will not start to fade, but it'll be a lot more difficult because Chelsea, we've got a decent run of fixtures between now and I'd say April. And so really should be picking up points in this game against Aston Villa, who have been inconsistent. I know it was a good result against Liverpool. They didn't win that game, though. They drew. And just in recent weeks, they faltered, maybe because they've got their eye on other competitions. But this is a Villa side that Chelsea played really well against at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea's best performance of the season in the league. And so I'm expecting a big performance and a big result from Chelsea come the weekend. Wow.
You're going into it with expectancy, which I'm surprised by. Because going away to Villa, it's a tough old game.
I understand that, but you've got to win tough games. And the thing that gets forgotten about is that during Chelsea's good run, where people were trying to put Chelsea in the title race, there wasn't a signature win there. You say, okay, you beat Spurs at their place, but everybody beat Spurs this season. This is not a very good Spurs side. You were plucky losers against Liverpool. You didn't beat a poor Manchester United side. You haven't beaten Man City. You didn't beat Arsenal despite the fact that it was a decent performance. You haven't got a signature win against a top side in the division. You probably say the biggest win was the win against Aston Villa and the win against Newcastle before they went on a decent run. But Chelsea in recent weeks, I've been very annoyed as a Chelsea fan. And I consider myself a reasonable, level-headed Chelsea fan. But what I've been seeing in terms of performances, what I've been hearing in terms of manager press conferences and interviews, it's irked me, and I think that going into these coming weeks, Chelsea needs to pick up the performances and pick up the results.
Worried about Marcus Rashford at all?
Not really. He's a good player. He could turn up. He could score. He might not. He's a footballer at the end of the day. I'm not really honing in on him as a threat for Chelsea. I just think that if we do what we're supposed to do, if players play up to the level and standard that we know that they can play up to, then there's no reason why Chelsea can't go to Villa Park and pick up a point or three.
Just on Chelsea, we will talk a bit about Villa as well, but just on Chelsea, right? There's protests planned. Now, it's funny to me that 2 months ago, when Chelsea were, second? There was not even a peep about the potential of a protest. Yeah. Wasn't even on the cards. Yeah. 2 months down the line, there's protests being planned against the Clearlake group. Like, doesn't that all feel a little bit knee-jerk?
It is. And it's so results-dependent. And Chelsea fans won't like me for saying this because, again, I'm all about fan protests. If you're not happy about something, all get on the same page and protest. But you ask 10 Chelsea fans what you're protesting, you get 10 different answers. They just don't like the fact that we're not getting results right now. When Chelsea beat Southampton away from home 5-1, and again, I don't care what anybody says, your away fans are your core fan base. In terms of they're the fans that spend money, they go home and away, they've been fans for a long time, they are fully invested financially into the football club. And those same away fans, after the game against Southampton where Chelsea went to second in the league or second or third, were singing, "We've got our Chelsea back." Chelsea last week when they lost against Brighton, those same away fans that had to go to the Amex and watch Chelsea put forward a putrid performance were singing, "We won our Chelsea back." So what's changed in those 2 months? The transfer strategy is the transfer strategy. We've all had to accept it and chin it. And we chinned it and accepted it when we were winning games. Oh, Cole Palmer, incredible business. Oh, we might have had to pay 100 mil for Caicedo, one of the best midfielders in the league. Look how good Cucurella is right now. Look at how good all these players are. Enzo Fernandez is now giving us numbers. And now Chelsea aren't getting results. All of a sudden, oh my goodness, get Clearlake out of the football club. I understand that they've not been perfect. I don't really love them as owners either. But these protests seem very results dependent. And that's what Chelsea fans are, right? Because of the way that Chelsea came up under Roman Abramovich, Chelsea fans have never cared about style of football. Chelsea fans have never really cared about recruitment policy or policy when it comes to managers. What Chelsea fans have cared about are results. Arsenal have to win playing a certain type of way. And when Arsenal aren't playing a certain type of way, you hear the criticism. Oh, Arteta's too boring, too pragmatic. Man United, Liverpool, they have to win playing a certain type of way. They are heritage football clubs. Chelsea only care about results. Hence why the most popular Chelsea managers are Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte, Thomas Tuchel. Don't play great football but get results. And the reason why Chelsea fans are frustrated right now is that they are not getting results. I think these protests, I don't want to call them hollow, but they have very, very shaky foundations. And I don't feel like they're going to get as much traction as Chelsea fans are hoping, because I don't really think that most of the fans who are going there know what they're protesting about, apart from the fact that we're not getting results.
I think that's fair. I think that's all really, really fair. I think, you hit the nail on the head when you sort of suggested that what's changed in the last couple of months. Well, in that period of time where Chelsea have gone from second and being talked about as in the title race, okay, they've lost some football matches. The results haven't been as good as they were in that first chunk of the season. But ultimately, the transfer policy hasn't changed in that period of time. The overarching strategy hasn't changed in that very short window of time. So what on earth is that? If you were fine with it a couple of months ago, why is it the end of the world now? And I struggle with Chelsea to see a real clear reason for it outside of results. You look at Arsenal fans, and there's been a lot of frustration aimed at the ownership because of the lack of business in January. But there's a specified reason why those Arsenal fans are frustrated. They feel that the club should have invested to help the team. They didn't do it. That's what the bee in their bonnet is all about. But with Chelsea right now, I can't see exactly what that issue is. And therefore, I can't understand how this protest can have any sort of validity to it, really.
The issue is, and again, there are issues in terms of the soul of the football club when you think about ticket pricing and some of the things that they're doing to Stamford Bridge and some of the ways that they're isolating or not treating fans how they should be treated. That happens at every football club, and I'm not saying it's right, but that happens. That even happened under Roman Abramovich. The reason why they are protesting is because they're not Roman Abramovich. And what Roman Abramovich brought Chelsea was constant success. Most football clubs, and we were talking to Gay, one of the producers, about Manchester United and how they were built in the modern era. They were built in the face or in the mould of a manager in terms of Sir Alex Ferguson. You can even say Arsenal to an extent. I know Arsenal was successful before under George Graham, but built in the modern image of Arsene and Wenger. You think about Shankly and Paisley at Liverpool. Managers that really influenced the style and the culture at a football club. The person that influenced the style and the culture at Chelsea Football Club was Roman Abramovich. It didn't matter if it was Jose Mourinho, Carlo Ancelotti, Antonio Conte, Thomas Tuchel. Managers came and went. The one constant was that owner. And I think Chelsea would probably the only football club, big football club in the world where unilaterally the fans loved the owner. And now that he's gone and he has to sell the clubs for reasons that we don't need to get into, I think fans are just unhappy that he's not in charge anymore. I don't necessarily think they're unhappy at the way Clear Lake are managing the football club in terms of they spend money. A lot of fans want their owners to spend money. The reason why Spurs fans are taking to the streets of North London is because Enoch and Daniel Levy aren't spending money. These owners are doing that. Granted, January didn't do any business, but we didn't need to do any business. I don't get what the bee in the bonnet is apart from the fact that Chelsea aren't playing well right now. And for me, that lays at the manager's door. That's the manager's problem.
All great points indeed. I do want to talk a little bit about Aston Villa because that was a proper rant. I don't even know where to go next. But look, Aston Villa, we talked about them when we were sort of discussing the Champions League draw a little bit earlier on. And I made the point that I feel like it's imperative that they get back into the Champions League. Do you think their sort of drop-off, if you like, in terms of their Premier League form has gone a little bit under the radar? Because they're in 9th. Right, they're a good 5 points off of the top 4, having played a game more than most of the teams above them. Fulham are above them. Newcastle are above them. Obviously, Chelsea, who we've just been hearing a rant about, they're above them quite comfortably. Bournemouth are there. Nottingham Forest are there. Has it gone under the radar, actually, how poor in sort of based on the standards they've set Villa's season has been?
Well, I'd say that from your perspective, you probably pay more attention to it than most other fans because you had Unai Emery as a manager and you saw the drop-off in your league form when you had Europe to concentrate on. And I can flip around and ask you, do you think that the poor league form that has gone unnoticed, to answer your question, yes, it has gone unnoticed, do you reckon that is as a result of European football? And do you reckon that's as a result of Unai Emery sacrificing the Premier League in order to pursue European glory?
I have always felt that throughout Unai Emery's career, and this is not just about what I saw at Arsenal, because often people label anybody of an Arsenal persuasion that has any criticism for Unai Emery as being bitter, salty, all those things. He's always had a problem with sort of spreading himself across multiple competitions. He's always had that issue. He's always been someone that prioritises and very clearly prioritises, whether that be team selection, making it obvious, maybe the messages that he's sort of passing across in the dressing room. Prioritization is always something that Unai Emery sort of goes for. And here he's prioritised Europe, and he will continue to prioritise Europe because Unai Emery's of the mindset of silverware. That's what he wants, silverware, silverware, silverware. Whereas there are other managers and other clubs maybe who are pushing towards Champions League qualification because they feel that they need to consolidate their status as a Champions League club. They need to bring in the revenue that the Champions League brings to then see them kick on and push on to the new level. Whereas Unai Emery, for me, still a bit old school and is like trophy, 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 trophy. That's what I need to do. So I do think like their league form, okay, it's dropped off. I think a lot of people felt that they weren't going to finish fourth again. You know, that was a really, really good campaign. I do think it's gone under the radar, though, how much it's dropped off. And I do think this is not a consequence of Unai Emery's management, because that makes it sound like it's a terrible thing. And actually, in the grand scheme of things, Villa are in a great place. But I do think that you can attribute the drop-off in league form and then the sort of uprising, what they're able to do on the continent, to Unai Emery and the messages that he puts across.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I would agree with that. And I would also agree with Emery doing that, because you can talk about consolidating your position and building the football club to a position where you're strong and you can start to attract top players because of the foundations that you've built. But from Emery's point of view, he knows that football is a cutthroat game. And he might not be the Aston Villa manager in 2-3 years' time. But what will show and what's on his resume, and the argument that people always make when they're talking about Unai Emery, is look at the trophies he's won. And that means he will always get a top job in football. So I can understand from a selfish point of view why he's done that. But maybe Villa's a bit different though, because at Villa they've kind of given him everything he wants. Backroom staff, he's got everybody that he wants there. It feels like his football club.
He's got a sporting director that he's worked with.
Maybe you're right. Maybe he does need to the league form does need to improve, because this is not a case of, I don't know how long I'm going to be at this football club, so let's get silverware right now. Villa have showed you commitment. They showed you that they want you to be their long-term man. So maybe balancing out the league form and the European form is something that is for next season, the next step they take in the development of a football club.
Just very quickly, I know you said you're expecting a big performance from Chelsea. Let's have a prediction for this one.
1-0.
1-0. I'm going to go for a Villa win. I'm going to go Villa 2, Chelsea 0. That's my prediction for that one.